interview. As you know, we've been interviewing church leaders and, volunteers and pastors of all sorts from all kinds of churches, just talking to them about what it's been like to do church online during the pandemic. And increasingly over the last week or so, we're hearing churches starting to go back and meeting in person and doing that in different formats, or at least thinking through that. So I'm excited to talk about that a little bit today. But I'm joined by Pastor Paul Joyner. Paul, how's it going this morning?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. Love having you. Love the connection with Jesse Wisniewski, who goes to your church. I think, is he elder in training right now? I think he's mentioned that to me, but Jesse's been there for a little while, and love Jesse.
He is. Yeah, he's one of my favorite guys. Don't tell him I said that.
We won't. I'll make sure he doesn't watch this.
Please.
No kudos. We don't want him to get, too prideful or anything. Well, cool. Super grateful for you joining us today. I see that you are in the building there. I doubt that's a room in your home. So you're in the church, and man, I'd love for you to tell us and tell our audience a little bit about how you got into ministry and what church you're at today, and give us the makeup of the church and where you guys are located, all those kind of things.
Yeah. I got into I really felt sense God calling me into ministry shortly after I was converted in my senior year in college. So I took a pretty typical path for folks in our denomination, seminary, and then college ministry after that for 12 years. And we've been here at Zion for 11 years, a little over 11 years. We're a 213-year-old church in Columbia, Tennessee. We were planted in 1807. And the building I'm in right now was built in the late 1850s, and it's still our current worship space. And so we frequently say we love telling the story of our church because it's the story of God's faithfulness over a long period of time. And a church that has been sustained by His grace and His word over 200 years. So we love to tell our community, in an ever-shifting world, the gospel's permanent, and we're evidence of that. So we're historically rooted, but culturally relevant, trying to reach today's world, not just live on the borrowed capital of the saints who were generations before us, but actively on mission for God in the world because His gospel's timeless.
Yeah. Amen. The sanctuary looks pretty good for being over 200 years old, by the way. So,
well, the brick wall that you see behind me is a result of water damage. So it just happens to look cool today.
Yeah, right. It actually, right. It's totally modern. It looks really good. It's on trend. That's very cool, man. Over 200 years old. That's pretty incredible. And the building, would you say the building is over how many years old?
It was built in 1850.
1850. Wow. That's got to be one of the, oldest church buildings around. I'm sure it's up in the top, in that list of older churches that are still, the actual building is still there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. This is, again, we've been talking to church leaders about their experience going online. So were you guys streaming prior to COVID, prior to kind of mid-March? And, what has it been like as you've jumped into that as, a modern church, but one that's been around for a long time, has deep roots, and I don't know, likely some like less techie in some ways, but walk us through that experience.
Yeah, we laugh because, we're about an hour south of Nashville, and a smaller town. We don't tend to have the most tech savvy people in our congregation or in our town. And so we've really not transitioned to the sort of full online experience.
Right.
And so this forced us, as churches were sort of shutting down slowly, our first Sunday that we live streamed off my phone in the back of the sanctuary.
Love it.
Well, we sort of had half of our people here that Sunday, and the next Sunday we were full on live streaming. And so we really had to transition to the experience in 1 week. Thankfully, the Lord had brought us a college student who was getting a degree in film just a week before we shut down. And he has been the biggest blessing to us in helping us transition, sort of taking a lot of that onto his shoulders. So we've been full on live streaming for about 2 months now through Vimeo, Facebook Live, and Google.
Wow, pretty cool.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. I love it. It's the second story I've heard of a church having nothing and, thrust into this. You've got to do it online, and the pastor grabbing their iPhone, popping it up in the sanctuary and doing church. And then, progressing a little bit from that moment on. So that's cool. Did you guys go from an iPhone and get some gear via, this person that's in the media world?
Yeah, he actually brought his own gear with us. With him. So it was sort of perfect. We've had to figure out some things along the way, but my sound guys and the video guy have just really taken all that on his shoulders, so we can just sort of focus on ministry, and they've taken over a lot of those pieces.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. It's great to have amazing, whether it's staff or volunteers. It sounds like these are, or at least one of them might be a volunteer who's just kicking in, serving, loving up on the church in that way. So that's cool.
They're all volunteers. We run pretty staff light and volunteer heavy around here. So they're all volunteers, and it's been a lot of late Saturday nights trying to make things work, and last minute on Sunday morning scrambling to make things work.
Right. So. Yeah. Practicing the service in a whole new way, right? Like doing the run through, getting prepped, doing everything on Zoom or whatever. Is a whole new world. So what's it been like for you guys? So you went online, you're on the iPhone, and now, like, what does service look like? Are you doing it from your home? You doing it from the sanctuary? How are you putting it on? Just what's all that look like?
Yeah, we're shooting from the sanctuary, so we're sort of doing our normal thing on Sunday, but doing it online and up close. But we've tried to do it in our normal space with our sort of normal liturgy patterns, and trying to keep things as familiar as possible for our people. I'm tempted to say normal, but there's nothing normal about this experience of watching worship online. So as familiar as possible.
Yeah. And why'd you guys make that choice to go with keeping it, similar, familiar, doing it from the sanctuary versus switching some stuff up? And, because I've talked to other churches and they're like, oh, we're doing it from our home because everybody else is in their home, so there's just been different decisions made by different churches. What was behind your thinking?
Yeah, our thinking was twofold. One, we didn't want to film it and then upload it. We wanted to keep it live. So once we made that that choice, then the question was where. And so it's sort of like everything is up in the air for God's people right now, for everyone right now. But for God's people to be grounded in His Word, the stability of His Word, and the familiarity of worship might be the only touch point they have all week with something solid and familiar. And so we sort of wanted them to get away, try to eliminate as much weirdness as possible so that Christ and His Word came out front and center. And the feedback that we've gotten from our people is how much they've appreciated that, even though they didn't know that was our intention. So they've really felt connected in ways, just sort of keeping it authentic and not trying to overproduce everything.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And it's really interesting just hearing, different church leaders' approaches to taking care of their church, right? Every church has a different sort of DNA in some ways, and demographic of people they serve, and the way church kind of happens, and just being thoughtful about that, so that it is as best as it can be for their people. So I dig that. What's been the most challenging thing you think in this season of doing it online, like for you yourself, as a church leader, but also just for your church, for the people?
Yeah. I know for both of us, the answer to both that is not being together.
Yeah.
You know, um, uh, we just sort of think about it this way. We're embodied souls. My people hear us say that often. We're not, heads on a stick. We're not souls in a shell. We are embodied souls, and the physical matters as much as the heart. And so it's important for us to be together. There is something faith giving, soul refreshing when we stand in the same room and hear each other saying the same praises to the same God and King, the same Savior. When we hear each other confess sins together, it reminds us that we're not this isolated, broken person, that everyone's just as messed up as the rest of us.
Yeah.
When we get to look each other in the eye and realize, man, I'm just not alone in this world. These people are walking through life together with me. All those things are lost now. You can't replicate that. We can deliver the content, but corporate worship, the gathering of God's people together with God in their midst, is so much more than just downloading information. And so that's been the hardest thing. When I get done on Sunday, or when I get up on Sundays, and my people aren't here,
Right.
man, it's just devastating. It's so saddening for me and for them.
Yeah. Not being with people, video chat can only give us so much of that interaction, right? It's not
That's right.
3D. It's like we're just getting this. And that human interaction is a massive part of worship, and being with, your friends and your family, and your kids being with their friends at church, and just that whole experience is missed pretty massively. I guess in that vein, we'll fast forward, right? So you've worked it out. You're online, you're streaming, you're doing your thing, but hoping for the day of being back. When are you guys going back? What's the plan? What's the direction out where you live right now?
Yeah, the plan is to start back this Sunday. We had talked about starting back last Sunday. A lot of churches around us has started back last Sunday.
Okay.
We had such an overwhelming response of people saying they were ready to come back, that we felt like we needed another week to plan it out and to make sure that it was as safe as possible. So we are starting back this Sunday in 2 different locations. We have a school, and so on our campus, we have a high school gym. That's our main service. We're going to try to put most of our people in there, and then we've got an earlier service for, we've sort of set aside for the more vulnerable people. So we're asking families with kids, to go to the main service, and those who are in good health to go to the main service, and then the more vulnerable part of our congregation to come to the earlier service.
Gotcha.
We're doing the earlier service in our sanctuary, and then the main service in the gym. So.
Okay. And what kind of precautions are you taking? How are you thinking about kids, like social distancing, masks, no mask? Like what's that been like over the last week as you guys are thinking this through?
Yeah, I'm laughing because all of our plans are held very tight or loosely. They seem to change
Yeah,
minute by minute.
I understand.
I've described this as this experience is, it's as if someone dropped a 6,000 piece puzzle on your table and said, "I'm taking away the main picture, so you don't know what you're building. And by the way, some of these pieces don't matter."
Right.
And so you start to put it together, and you think you made progress, and the next day someone comes in and drops another 1,000 pieces on the table, and they go, "You need some of these pieces, and some of these you don't."
Yes.
Every day is this new experience of, well, what are we doing today? So our loosely held plan, as we're putting this puzzle together, is that we're asking people to wear masks into the building, and when they leave, we're asking them to put them on when they sing. but they don't have to wear them the rest of the time. Children under 10 don't have to wear masks. We are social distancing families from each other. And so we sort of set up the room accordingly so they can social distance from each other. We're asking people to leave through separate doors so that, we don't create choke points where people are not social distancing. And we
Set up
realize
the
this is
chairs, like you're in a gym, so you're able to set up all the chairs in a way where you can put like groups of 3 or 5 or 2.
yes.
Like, did you kind of do different groupings of different numbers of chairs around the gym?
We did,
Okay.
which has been part of the puzzle pieces that's been difficult to figure out. But we did create family groups and couple groups so they can social distance from each other.
Right.
So we'll see how that works on Sunday. It may not work. We may change our plan after
People are
Sunday.
shuffling their chairs around. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you doing kids? Are you gonna have kids ministry or
No, we're not doing anything for kids. So no nursery. Normally, we like to keep our encourage our families to keep their kids in worship. And if they don't want to, we're fine with that. We usually, for the older kids, we'll provide something during the sermon so they can go out, sort of a hybrid model. But we're not doing any of that. We've put some of our family pods, we're calling them. Some of our family pods have space next to it so parents can put, if they want to, or create something a little more comfortable. Our children's ministry director, who's also a volunteer, put together a video for the kids to sort of give them an experience so they could see what it's going to be like to be in a new space with people in masks, and sort of walk them through that and orient them to that a little bit. So that's what we're doing for kids. It's pretty low key. There's just not a lot we can do right now.
Right.
It's hard to social distance children.
100%. No, I get it. I mean, I have triplet 8-year-old boys, and there is no social distancing going on. It's like guardrail them around people if you wanted to try to pull that off.
That's right. So that's why we've created the earlier service. We're calling that for the more vulnerable, because kids aren't going to social distance as well, and so those who need to be in worship but don't need to be around kids, we're trying to get them to the earlier service, and then
Oh. All right, you're back.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
All right.
So I think we missed the last part. It kind of cut out right at the kids social distancing part, but I think we get the point. It's hard to social distance kids. So keeping them with the family or giving them a way to kind of go outside or something like that makes a ton of sense. Well, this has been awesome. So you guys are doing church on Sunday. It's happening. What are you most looking forward to as you're getting back with the people?
Just having people in the room again. I think hearing them sing is the thing that I'm most looking forward to having back together. That's the thing that I've missed the most.
Yeah, hearing everyone sing, man, that is going to be a good day. Singing in your home on your couch to the television screen is not the same. Even if you listen to the best worship music on the planet, live concert on your screen, there's just something different about being in person and singing with your brothers and sisters and doing your thing that way. So well, where can folks go to check you guys out? I'm sure there's people listening from the Nashville area, but what's your church website, and can they check out your live stream? Are you going to still live stream at all?
We are going to still live stream. We're going to probably do that for a long time. There are some of our people who we've suggested they actually stay at home because pre-existing conditions are being more vulnerable. Our website is www.zioncolumbia.org, and you can just click on live stream in the header and find us there.
Very cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. This has been great, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it, and thanks for all that y'all are doing.
Yeah,
TITHE.LY.
You guys just launched with TITHE.LY very recently, right?
We did, and it's been a great experience. So
Love it.
we transitioned our online giving to TITHE.LY. We're using another service and switched to TITHE.LY when about week 2 of this thing, just to make it as easier for everyone. So we've loved your service.
Yeah. Has it gone okay so far on the giving front for you guys?
Yeah, our giving continues we haven't seen a huge decline in our giving. Most of our people are giving online or through bank draft already.
Okay.
So that's been an easier transition.
Yeah.
Those who haven't have transitioned online, and we've almost seamlessly switched over from our previous platform to TITHE.LY pretty easily. So it's been great.
Yeah. No, I love to hear that. Well, man, have a great weekend. Have a great service. Seeing everybody, even if you can't hug them, you can air high five them and sing together. Man, yeah, wishing you guys the best this weekend.
Thanks. Good talking to you. See you later.
Yeah, great to talk to you too. Thanks everybody for joining live. We will be back next week. It's Memorial Day for us in the US. And so we will be off on Monday, but back on Tuesday. So appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend.